You are now listening to Creator Corner.
Hi everyone, welcome to Creator Corner. I'm Dalia,
And I'm Mary.
and we're super excited to welcome you back for another episode where Mary and I dive into our musings about playtime, art, and creativity.
Yes, but before we dive into our main episode, friend, just wanted to do a quick friend vibe check. So, Dalia, how have you been lately?
Oh my gosh, friend, this question, I always love it when we ask it because it always involves, how I'm feeling, what things are happening in my life. But of course, with the new year, there's so much reflection in the air at this point. So I'm feeling very nostalgic about the year. I've been reflecting around 2023. There was so much learnings on an individual, on a personal and global level. I feel like this year went by really fast. And so, how I'm feeling at this moment is that, just trying to look ahead at 2024. I don't like to think about, specific resolutions or specific goals, but more so like general intentions of like well-being. Like I want to like put my practice back in place around my daily meditation. For those that don't know, I like to meditate for about an hour every day. So I need that back in place. But yeah, like smaller things that just change up my routine. So I'm feeling nostalgic, excited about 2024. But what about you, friend? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm also super excited for the new year. Well, especially January since it is my birthday month, and it's pretty amazing to think that I'm gonna be on this earth for 3 decades. So it's pretty crazy to hear. Wow, 3 decades on earth, and I think there's a lot more learning. So I'm definitely feeling very optimistic, very excited about this new era, this new decade that I'm starting in life. And I'm also going to start training for a half marathon to start off the year.
Ooh.
But but like yourself, I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I do go into a state of reflection, a state of maybe a one word that I want to hone in for the year. So for 2023, it was consistency. So for 2024, I'm still trying to think about that one word to really set the tempo and the theme rather than me doing New Year's resolutions. So yeah, I think overall I've been feeling super excited about the new year, super refreshed in terms of starting a new decade of my life. It's pretty crazy. But also, yeah, I'm ready to create more content with you, and as we go into our topic of playtime, continue our playtime moments together. So overall, I think it's a great start to the year so far. I'm feeling great.
Oh my gosh, Ren, I love the idea of one word to basically, set the tone for your year. I love that, and I'm definitely gonna borrow that, and I'm gonna pick
Yes.
one word to be, my little north star throughout the year. Because yeah, I think that I love that word consistency for 2023. How do you feel that word, resonated now looking back at your 23?
Yeah, I do think, to your point, that having one word for me, and that word being consistency in 2023, I think there was a lot of things, big categorical things in my life that I wanted to be more consistent, whether it was my wellness routine and practice. But also with being consistent, I think part of it was also reframing how I think about consistency, because when in 2023, when I thought about the word, being consistent with my workouts, and when one day I didn't work out or one day I didn't meditate, I'd be so hard on myself. But I do think consistency and reframing that meaning for me also meant, hey, you know what? You could have one of those days where it might have fallen off the track, but it's a matter of how do you get back on it to be consistent throughout the year, and not letting that, 1 or 2 days where I quote unquote fell off the track not derail me from the ongoing consistency for the next 8 months. So I do think, it was a lot of reframing of what that word meant to me, but also staying on the course of giving myself grace and patience to continue that consistent momentum. Again, whether it was my wellness routine and whether it was like career, or even, again, our creative project through Creator Corner, or like just some big categorical things when I thought about how that word consistency resonated with me in 2023.
Wow, well that's amazing, friend, and I love that. But also, January, you said, is your birthday month, so we have a little Aquarius baby here.
Yes,
and so super exciting. Yes, birthday month.
I know, right?
Yeah, but this is a great transition into our topic today. So last time, Mary and I spoke a little bit about, intentional collaboration and who we, quote unquote, would love to invite to be playmates into our space. So we wanted to dive a little bit deeper into that concept and talk a little bit about, playtime and play. And just to kick things off, Mary would love to hear from your perspective, how do you define and view play as an adult?
Yeah, so I think it's really not funny, but when I think of play, it actually brings a lot of nostalgic moments in the memory lane, and the first thing I think about is like childhood. Because when I think of playtime itself and removing the adult piece out of it, I do think playtime were like the most raw moments of me personally thinking like of my life, where I was allowed to be me. I didn't care about what anyone was thinking. I was just, in the sandbox, or making up stories with friends, or being with, integrating myself in sports with different people. And I didn't really care who was playing with me, as long as I was having a fun time. I was having, to me, it was like a community sense too of playtime, but also it was something that really brought so much joy in that present moment. Again, whether it was sports, whether it was being with friends, whether it was just laughing out loud with like about nothing, about like stories, like that, friends, even through college, like just hanging out and really letting loose. And for a moment in time, just disconnecting with not reality, because I don't see playtime as like escapism either. It's more so, again, like a moment where you can like purely enjoy the people you're with, the environment you were in, even whatever was going on, whether it was by myself or or with people. I think that's the first things that comes out when I hear the word playtime. But curious to hear your perspective on it, friend. Like, how do you define like playtime? Maybe at the word on its own, but I guess like maybe as an adult now as well.
Yeah, friend. First, I definitely agree with you. I definitely see playtime as a judgment-free zone. You're able to express yourself, be lively, and just be joyful, as you mentioned. But when I think about playtime, I don't necessarily think about, to your point, it doesn't have to be like a little sandbox. It could be like a non-physical space where, you feel, safe to, have fun, be goofy, be silly. And I think on top of that, when you're in a mindset of playtime, things are not serious. You're not limited to, oh my gosh, if I failed and I suck at this is like, it's the end be all. When you have a category like playtime, you're meant to, start over, have fun, enjoy it. It's not so serious. And so that's what really comes to mind when I think about playtime. This opportunity to enjoy yourself without a pressure of failure, without a pressure of others judging you. You're just simply laughing, enjoying yourself. So I was thinking back, friend, when we first started the podcast, and you and I were not used to being on the mic. We were not used to being recorded at all, and definitely not used to guest interviews. And so there was some initial pressure, I won't lie. And I think things really changed for me when we started being more jokeful about it and be like, yeah, it's just play. It's just play. So I don't know. I think that those, like, just kind of making something not so, like I said, like if you fail, it's not the worst thing in the world. It's something that you're learning from, you're having fun, and you're enjoying in that moment. Which, we talked a little bit about in our last episode, how our collaborations really shift when we think about our playmates as we were young to when we're older, who we're intentionally choosing to collaborate and quote unquote play with. And this got me thinking, friend, as adults, what are some of the things that have limited you in participating in playtime?
Yeah, no, that's a good question, because I think something that we're running through mine as we're just talking about this episode is even the question of like, oh, how come as adults our playtime sort of decreases? But I do think, the reality of life as an adult, and some can say it sounds like an excuse, but as an adult you have more responsibility. There's that also, I guess, speaking for myself, of why my playtime has decreased, but also how I'm making playtime such an important piece of my week nowadays. But I do think me as an adult, you do have more responsibilities, and then specifically for me, I also really had to navigate a lot on like entering as a first gen kid, really first generation college. I had to almost like figure things out on my own, which put me in that more logical state of being of, okay, this is the first step to surviving in college, this is the second step, third step, etc. So I do think my concept of playtime became more logical and surviving the day-to-day of whether it's college, whether then it's the next step of my career, whether it's finding a job, or whether it's just the basic necessities of life did get in the way of my playtime per se. But I am happy to really reconnect with what playtime means to me. Also now going into, again, like the third decade of my life, I do think I have been more intentional in reintegrating playtime, which again, like bringing it back to finding a basketball community in the DC, Maryland area, this Creator Corner project with you, doing things with my partner that I haven't really done in a while, like being spontaneous about going to a random event maybe, and just really learning from that event, even though it was impromptu. So I do think now, even though I do have those adult responsibilities, I do think it's super important for me to really have playtime, and sometimes just wrestle with my partner and that be my playtime moment, or watch reality TV and dissect it in a more like more thoughtful lens and reflection lens, because that is what playtime is now for me. It's like those moments where I can still be me and have that liberty to just be unconditionally, unapologetically be me, whether it's playing basketball with new folks, or whether it's again with my partner and friends just watching reality TV and really asking like, what the fuck, what are they doing, and just laughing. So I think all in all, I do think while playtime did kind of go away for little bits of pieces of my life, I do think now I'm doing a better job like making sure I do have playtime, because it's so important, and I think I still have that inner child in me and will always have it in me to to act goofy or be foolish here and there. But yeah, friend, I mean,
friend,
how about you?
I was gonna say, friend, you bring up such an interesting point about growing up in a like first generation household, low income household, and the ways that in a way you've had to reclaim playtime. And I think that's very important to call in, is that when you're growing up in these environments, playtime is a privilege. It's not something that you are, thinking about, let me reserve some time to have some playtime. And I can, share a brief example. But growing up, my dad owned a taco truck. And so from middle school, being in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade, I was helping my dad in his taco truck. So it's not like I'm like, okay, my free time is my playtime. My free time was, I'm helping my dad in the taco truck, and then I'm in the corner trying to read a book as well, trying to make some time for playtime. So I just wanted to acknowledge that point, friend, because you said even the word surviving. You were, surviving through college, surviving through some moments in your life as well, where the privilege of playtime is not necessarily something that, it's something that I need to make space for in this specific moment, because, we're trying to survive in some of these. Like at Berkeley, I can think about specific spaces in classrooms and stuff like that, where you're not thinking about being silly, goofy, good time. You're like, oh shit, like, I'm in this classroom.
Bitch, I gotta pass this exam.
Yeah, definitely. You're trying to survive in college. Of course, there was communities that afforded playtime, but I think personally for me, I was trying to survive college. So I just wanted to really acknowledge that, friend.
Yeah. No, I do appreciate like you calling that in terms of reclaiming, that word playtime and the concept of playtime for folks like ourselves who might have had, other responsibilities and not really had that, time or space to think about like intentionally having playtime moments. So do appreciate that call-in, friend. But curious to hear, I mean, nowadays, like, or thinking about your journey in playtime. I know you shared a little bit about, like working with your dad at the taco truck, so perhaps not having, those playtime moments as much as probably you wanted. But how has, the concept of playtime evolved for you, and what do you use as playtime now as an adult?
Yeah, friend. This reminds me of something I was actually just watching yesterday. I was watching this TV show with my little sister. She just came back from, she's not little, but she just came back from college. And when she was like a lot smaller, especially when she was like 8 or 9, we used to watch this TV show called Doctor Who, which is like a really like nerdy TV show.
Yes, you
about
love
this.
That. I remember.
Yeah, that travels the universe or whatever. But there was this episode yesterday, and this character was talking about the concept of play. And he says, like, people in this like world really see life in like a binary way of like chaos or order, and playtime or play was like that third other for, in this monologue, because it's like it doesn't exist in chaos and it doesn't exist in order. It's just like this other space where anything is possible and anything can be created. And that was like the whole emphasis of that episode. But it got me thinking into how, in our reality, we do see things in a very binary way. It's like yes or no, male or female. Like, so a lot of structures are very binary. And playtime is this other space, just like creativity, just like art, that is like non-physical. It doesn't have to be a physical space, and it doesn't have to exist in these binary structures. And to me, that's why it's even more important to have intentional play in our life. Like sometimes like a lot of these systems are meant to tire us out, to make us feel like the weight of the world on our shoulders, that we have to continue working, have to continue doing this. And for my parents, that is the reality, or that has been the reality as immigrants in this country. And so for me, as coming into my 3 decades into this world, I really want to reflect around every existence, even playtime, is something that my previous generations haven't had the privilege of having. So I need to be even more intentional about, creating that space. So I view it as like a lot of my ancestors suffered in their existence. When I think back about their experiences, even as, women growing up in small indigenous communities, And I think about me as like this 29-year-old woman, and I'm like, okay, you know, the fact that I get to have playtime as a 29-year-old, I'm like, okay, I'm super lucky. I am so privileged. But these are spaces are so powerful because I, my hope for, and I said last time, I like to see myself as a young ancestor, but my hope is that, you know, future generations don't have to suffer. Like, I don't believe that we have to experience the same suffering, and that doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but that's my hope. And with that is like more playtime, more joy, more just enjoyment, and not having, you know, to survive. And so I don't know if that exactly answered the answer of how I view playtime, but the way that I bring playtime intentionally into my day-to-day is in, you know, a variety of ways. I have a niece, and I love being so freaking goofy with her. Like, even yesterday, we spent like an hour like together just like playing with like fake sand that my sister made her, and we were just having like fun, just laughing. And my sister's like, oh wow, like I just got this sand for a little bit, and y'all have been here for like like an hour plus just playing with the sand. But we were like laughing, we were having fun. We were making like little snowmans, little happy faces, and it was just silly goofy. You know, friend, it's just like being more like silly goofy about everything. I talked about how last time on my birthday I got, you know, a little lit and I had like a bomb karaoke session with my family. We were like dancing, singing like really loud, just having fun. And I remember, like, you know, back in our early 20s, right, we were out in the club, we were out in the bars, and now in my 29th birthday, I'm in my living room singing karaoke. But you know what? That's evolving. That's growing up. So yeah, playtime is something that, you know, doesn't need a physical space. You can bring it into your day to day. I also have like a 2-hour commute to the city in San Francisco where I work, and even on the bus sometimes I'll find myself laughing because I'm just like literally like, you know, like I'm either like texting my friends on there, or like I'll text you, Mary, or I'll text somebody. I'll be like, I'm giggling as I'm like freaking on the bus like texting people. So it's just like everything can be silly goofy, everything can be funny, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an activity. It could be a viewpoint in that, you know, if I'm gonna go on this hike, you know, or something, like it's just fun. I'm gonna look at the flowers, I'm gonna look at little creatures, and everything is, you know, like joyful wonder. We don't have to go out of our way to experience playtime. It could be at least the way that I view it, it could be a mindset in how we, you know, we do an activity or we do something.
I think as you were talking, friend, I think one thing that kept coming up is like the concept of playtime is being truly in the present moment and being so integrated in what's in front of you right now, whether, like you said, whether it's just playing sand with your niece or whether it's watching Doctor Who with your other sister. I think it's that grounding moment or present moment to me was what came up as like, wow, playtime could be a form of grounding. It could be a form of being super present, you know, and not worrying about the past or the future for that specific hour or 2 hours or whatever, however many hours, you know, we're privileged to have, you know, this playtime. Was something that kept coming up. It's like, wow, like I didn't even think about how playtime is being in the fucking moment and just really like, wow, I'm really enjoying this laugh. I'm like, my stomach is hurting. I'm just laughing so hard right now, you know, on this TV show. Or again, whether it's like spending time with yourself or whether it's something funny you saw on, you know, the social media or other videos. But I think that's what was coming up to mind, friend, is like how grounding playtime can be and how much more important to really integrate playtime as adults, because let's be honest, I mean, there's lots of shit going on, you know, like in the world, but also individually, where I think we can get really wrapped up into like what's going on. But having that playtime moment to, even if it's just, you know, an hour a day or an hour a week that we have is so important to keep us again, grounded, to keep us back and reel us back in, like, in the present moment. So I think that was coming up to me, friend, as you were talking.
Yeah, friend. And I really appreciate you saying that, because I had not made that connection of playtime as the present. But in you connecting that and making that connection, it makes a lot of sense to me, in terms of even the way that I'll view like my spirituality practice. Yeah, playtime is another form, or it does support us in being more present in our day-to-day. I even think about like in the past. So when I was little, I grew up. So we're four girls in total. So I have 3 other sisters. And I don't think that we ever had as much playtime when we were little as we do now. And what I mean by that is like us laughing, like our stomachs hurting, doing random silly shit, or like picking up a hobby together. Like me and Consuelo started rollerblading, and that's something that I was like, I didn't know you liked it. And I'm like, all right, I'll support you in this, and we'll do it together. But like we didn't have playtime as kids. Like I don't remember I just remember me like fighting with my sisters, not like literally not getting along. And now as adults, I feel like we have more playtime, and our relationship has gotten better, and we're more present in our relationship as well. So yeah, that is very, very interesting, that connection you're making, friend.
Yeah, definitely. And I can relate too, as you know, having sisters of my own, being the middle child.
Same.
I do think as adults,
middle child struggle.
I know, right? Yeah. And I do think, as you know, growing up with my 2 sisters, we had playtime, but we were also like very rough with each other. We would wrestle a lot. But I think as we grew older, that was the understanding was, this is how we showed affection. We would wrestle with each other. We would push each other around, but that's how we showed, like, hey, I'm playing with you. Hey, I love you, by pushing you so hard that you might. True story though, my sister fucking sprained her ankle once when we were playing.
Oh my gosh.
But I do think as we got older, we understood how we played each other was a form of affection, which is very nice to really understand. You know, as we got more mature, as we understood each other's relationships with one another, considering the age gaps too, because my older sister Kat is 7 years older, my younger sister Dalia is 4 years younger. I do think we understood a shared understanding that, hey, when we were playing rough and really, you know, playing with each other in our playtime moments, that was us showing each other like, I got your back, I'm your sister, I'm here, let's enjoy this moment, even though, you know, someone might get hurt.
That sprained ankle was a definition of how much I love you. Dude, that reminds me of, like, literally, I don't know, maybe my sister Consuelo one time pushed my older sister, and dude, she fell into a rose bush. Shut up. She got like a bunch of like thorns in her arm. She was crying. I felt so bad. So yeah, we got some war stories from those wrestling moments.
Oh, that's so funny, friend.
Yeah, friend. So I guess, like, you know, as you're thinking about playtime and creativity, is there, you know, anything that comes to mind in terms of alignment between these two words?
Yeah, love that. I do think when I think about playtime and creativity, the alignment there is, for me at least, is, you know, playtime for me is important to me, and whatever playtime to me, as long as I'm having a good time, as long as it's resonating with me, it's fulfilling me in ways that, you know, brings me joy, happiness, laughter, it's allowing me to, again, really think about the world in a different lens. That's how I see its alignment with creativity. Because I do think with creativity, even with us, you know, in this podcast and creating this product, creating the content, as long as it aligns with you and I, as long as, you know, it means and we believe in it, I think that's how I see creativity too, and playtime. I could care less about, you know, what others think when I'm playing. Again, going back to like when I'm enjoying myself in the court and laughing and being silly. same thing with us in this podcast. Like, I care about, just how we can enjoy each other, how we can create content that means a lot to me, to share this platform with you and our guests, without feeling, again, going back to like, without feeling judged, without feeling like we have to perform in a box or in a way where it feels limiting. I think those are some ways that I see alignment, and like what playtime means to me and what creativity means to me is that those moments of being super utterly liberated in what I express, how I express, the way I express things, as long as it resonates with me and the people I'm sharing it with. I think that's the most important part of playtime, of being creative. I don't know if that made sense, but in my head it was making sense.
No, it makes sense, friend. This is our virtual playground, and so I feel the same way about this space with you, friend. This is the space where we could, talk through things, connect, laugh, and I do enjoy that so much. I think that's what has made this podcast so fun, is that we are truly enjoying each other's company and enjoying seeing each other grow and learning things. Because like I said, we were so out of our comfort zone when we started, and now look at us now, so
right.
I'm so proud of us.
Yeah, but curious to hear your perspective on it, friend. Like, where does playtime, creativity either align with you, or even like in parallel? Like, how does it resonate with you?
Yeah, going back to that little analogy I made earlier about how, playtime exists outside this whole like chaos and order, and how that really resonated with me. But the reason why that resonated with me is because in playtime, there's so many like possibilities, it's limitless possibilities. And I think that aspect really resonates with creativity. When we're chatting with creators, with artists, and they're creating something, they are failing, restarting, they're doing things all over again. The possibilities of their creation are really infinite. They're they're really a channel for their specific art, and it's done in a way where it doesn't have to exist in a specific order or in a specific way. There's so many adaptability, so much process, so much like flexibility, and so all of these words also come to mind when I think about playtime. You have to be flexible, you have to have fun, you have to be willing to try things, and laugh if you fail. But I love that connection between the limitless possibilities and just the potential that can be in playtime with creation and imagination, aligning with that creativity of bringing together a poem or an art piece. And that process, to me, there's a lot of alignment. So yeah, I think it's very, very important. I think playtime is a way to cultivate our creativity as well.
I agree. I was gonna say that.
So there's just so much there, and I guess when I'm thinking about this, friend, we chatted about this very, briefly about what are some of the things that prevent us on a personal level from, having more intentional playtime in our day-to-day. I guess on a collective level, is there anything that you see in terms of alignment as to maybe why some folks don't want to be silly goofy, or they kind of may look down upon some people that are want to engage in fun play, because I know I've come across like even some adults in my life where they're like, you should be grown, you should settle down, have I don't know, kids, like like
grown means.
Any thoughts on that, friend?
Yeah, I think the first thoughts that come to mind is the societal label, the societal definitions of what being a grown-up means, or what being independent means, or even what being professional means, or what being mature means, and carrying your ways and how you go about navigating life has been so, going back to what you said, like binary. Like, for example, to be a professional, you talk this way or you talk or you don't talk that way. Or to be mature, you know, like a grown-up, you own whatever, you own your own place, you pay your own bills, like or whatever those like definitions mean, I think have been carried on for so long that I do think a lot of us, you know, people have really embedded those definitions of being a grown-up, of being independent, or of being successful, you know, in such a societal construct perspective, which does exclude, you know, the concept of like, yes, being a grown-up does also mean having fun and having silly goofy moments. But I do think the societal expectations, the definitions of like what, again, like going back to like how to carry yourself as you age, whatever, has really limited and almost excluded that, like, hey, that inner child in you, you know, 10 years ago is still there. Doesn't, you know, like it's still in you to really honor those silly goofy moments that brought joy and happiness in your adult form. It might look different, but it doesn't mean it should be completely excluded or neglected. But I think there's also the fear of being judged. Like, okay, you're this, you know, whatever labels you have, you're this of the company, you're this of, you know, in your family, this label here. And living up to those labels, maybe what playtime means to you doesn't align with those labels. And I think there's blurred lines there of how people want to carry themselves, and maybe they don't want to taint, again, that persona, that label that they've attained, and as they grow older, more mature, per se, where I do think there's a lot of fear of being judged, of feeling like, oh, you're gonna lose, again, like whatever you've attained so far, the success you've attained, or this, again, family respect you've attained, you know, whatever that means for people. I think those are the things that's coming up where I feel like why as adults we lose the essence of, hey, nurturing the inner child, nurturing those goofy moments, and not being so damn serious all the damn time. Like, it's not deep. It's not that deep sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to just, you know, like watch your favorite shows and laugh, like authentically laugh with the people around you. You know, like going back to you with being your sister, like sometimes that's all you need in a given moment, without any social pressures, without any societal pressures to really be performative in a way also, I think. So yeah, I think those are the things that come up of like why as a collective the concept of playtime continues to deteriorate. But I do want to give a lot of credit to, again, a lot of creatives who consistently, you know, live and breathe playtime through their creativity. So yeah, those are the things that came to mind.
This reminds me, friend, of this. Okay, so my dad is like very like by the book. He's a Capricorn. He like his job is how he views his worth. You know, like he's like very much like, I go to work every day. This is my schedule. I wake up at this time, go to bed at this time, and you know, growing up, that was also who he was. He was like, I'm gonna work. So not a lot of time often for like playtime, right? With, you know, his daughters. But it's such an interesting concept now seeing him as a grandpa in the way he is with my little niece. My niece is 4, and he likes to like play with her, take her to the park, laugh. And it's so interesting how, you know, he's now like in his 50s, and you know, his inner child's still there. He still wants to have fun, still wants to play. So despite your age, how older you're getting, you still have that desire to engage in playtime and play. And seeing my dad just like from when he was younger to now seeing him with my little niece, you know, I'm a little jealous. I'm kidding. No, but I'm like, no, it's good to see him this way and see that, you know, play and creativity inside of him coming out with my little niece, which I'm sure my little niece, and you know, she's little, so he probably doesn't feel judged by her. He's like, oh yeah, like I can be silly goofy with her, you know. But yeah, friend, that just reminded me about you sharing your perspective around like the way that even labels can prevent us from exploring playtime and even creativity by that. So yeah, so as we're moving towards wrapping up this episode and looking ahead to 2024, I want to transition into our bonfire moment, friend. And so our bonfire moment is, an opportunity for us to release into the fire what we're letting go of. And because it is 2024 and we're moving into this new year, I would love for you to throw something into the fire that you are letting go of as you are, moving into this new year.
Yeah. I think what comes to mind is really like deconstructing the meaning of playtime and not letting it escape who I am and a part of my being as I continue to get older, as I go into this dirty 30 moment. I do think, I want to release out there, like I want to deconstruct what playtime means to me and continue to, not let it escape me as I move toward, continue to navigate the world. And I think I'll leave it there. What about you, friend? What are you releasing out there?
Yeah, and as I'm looking ahead into 2024, I'll say what I am releasing into the fire is, so around the theme of playtime, one of the things that usually prevents me from engaging in playtime is, to your point, we have this idea is that in order to play, we have to be in a certain mindset, we have to have a certain time. So I just want to continue exploring that. Playtime could be just simply a mindset. It doesn't have to be a physical space. Just being in that mindset of like, hey, this has to be like, if this is not joyful, like what is going on here? If this is like not fun, then what is happening? Because I think about like, I have a commute, right? And I said it was 2 hours. And like my commute is fun. And I know that sounds like weird for people. You're like, dude, you're on the bus for 2 hours. How is your commute fun? But it is so much fun because I literally spend all this time there and I can meditate by myself and I have my whole visual practice. I'm like literally like giggling while I'm texting my sisters, sending them memes. Like I'm literally having a really good time on this bus. And so I enjoy my commute. I go into the office and like even when I'm making my coffee and stuff and like all this stuff, like it's all funny. Like it's really funny to me, like, oh shit, like how did I end up here? Like how am I in this place? Like I just like I'm laughing because I feel like almost like I snuck in there. And so it's just like for me it's just continuing to develop that mindset of like, playtime can be a mindset and it doesn't have to be something that you're in an activity. Of course those are great ways to cultivate more space for playtime, but if you don't have that time or the space, it's sometimes also about just like shifting your mindset a little bit and know that at the end of the day, like your present moment, which we talked about, just connecting it back to present, the present moment is it's about you and it's about making sure that this moment is giving back to you, whether you're feeling safe, whether you're enjoying it, or whether whatever it may be, but those present moments are for you, so might as well make them a little fun, a little silly, a little goofy.
Yeah, I love that. And I think to top it off, I do think playtime again is a grounding moment, at least for me, or grounding, just grounding me to the present. Again, through laughter, through joy, through silliness, through thinking of life as not that deep sometimes. So I do think, that mindset is really important to really think about playtime in a different way. If people don't have that privilege that we do have of playtime, maybe it's like, again, a small change of mindset and really finding those moments to cherish this playtime and just laugh at like, how did I get here? It's important. But yeah, friend.
To our audience, I just want to ask you all, how do you engage in playtime? And how do you hope to engage in more playtime come this new year?
Thank you for tuning in. Creator Corner is a podcast production presented by the Rs Network. It is hosted by Dalia Zaragoza and Mary Figueroa. This podcast is edited and produced by Muhammad Abdullah Kawish.